So, with everybody on the planet talking about Hong Kong and China and what's going on over there, and how China is using its corporate power and its national power to be able to censor companies here in America who want to do business with the Chinese, I feel like if you're going to speak out against the Hong Kong protest, you should probably know why they're protesting and understand everything. And Tom Pease, man, I always believed that economics is a continuation, or politics is a continuation of economics by another means. So with that being said, right, I have this mentality of I want to know exactly why things are going on the way they're going on. And usually when you look up some economic shit, it tends to tell you more about a situation than you can even ever hope to learn from what's going on the ground. So, I have an article here from the Wall Street Journal. This is from October 15th, which is today. It says, weaker yuan test. Actually, I think this article is actually from August 11th, right? It has a thing on the top of, the actual date today. Weaker yuan says China's ability to prevent capital flight. Beijing isn't likely to allow the yuan to appreciate much further, as a weaker currency could trigger massive outflows. Yeah, this is from August 11th. China's biggest experiment with its currency since a botched devaluation 4 years ago suggests its leaders believe they can stem a serious flood of money fleeing its borders. China early this month let the yuan depreciate beyond the key 7 to the dollar level for the first time since 2008. In other words, the yuan, or the RMB, as it's called over there, right, is actually pegged to the dollar at 7 yuan to every $1. And that's how it's been since 2008. Prompting the U.S. Treasury Department to label the country a currency manipulator and marketing the latest flare-up and escalating trade fight. So the reason why they depreciate their currency is so that they can pay their bills with a weaker currency, right? So that they can pay the same money with money that's not worth as much, is kind of the situation. The United States does this. A lot of countries do this. Tends to be how it works. This is the reason why the countries inside of the European Union are always bitching about the euro. Places like Italy, Greece, France, whatever, because they want to be able to run their own currency so that they can print out more money and pay back their debts at a lower payment, but they're paying it for the same amount of money, just the currency is not worth as much. By the end of the week, the yuan somewhat stabilized, offering hope the two countries might not be on the brink of a full-blown currency war. But allowing the yuan to breach the fiercely defended level against the dollar revived memories of the Chinese currency's sharp moves in August 2015, when Beijing shocked the global financial markets by unveiling a surprise mini depreciation. In theory, China keeps a tight grip on money entering or exiting the country, but in practice, it had already begun grappling with a large capital outflows, both legal and illicit, for years. The problem peaked in 2015 when hundreds of billions of dollars fled China. So, okay, two things with this. One is, this is why Toronto has the problem it has right now, all right? And Vancouver and Quebec and San Francisco and Los Angeles and parts of New York and parts of Rhode Island and Providence and Boston. Now, what you have to understand is that the Chinese people are leaving China with billions of dollars and going elsewhere to look for better investments. And with that being said, right, you think it's a bubble. It's really not. All right, it's literally them looking for safe investments, and that's why it hasn't crashed, because it's not actually a bubble. It's just appreciation from actual wants of a product. It's basic capitalism. That's how it operates. Now, the money was siphoned out using numerous techniques, often involving Hong Kong or Macau, two Chinese territories which have their own currencies. People turned to money transfer agents acting as underground banks and bought foreign currency denominated insurance products in places including Hong Kong. Chinese companies use maneuvers such as getting creative with invoices and inflating the declared value of imports to justify large payments abroad. Since then, authorities have made it more difficult for individuals and companies to move funds offshore, employing measures such as tightening approval for cross-border acquisitions and monitoring overseas spending using domestic bank cards. Now, this is about as far as I really want to go with this article, because I want you to understand something. All of this bullshit in Hong Kong is about something that y'all have no idea about, all right? This is about currency flight, because the Chinese are having a hard time remaining liquid when people continually move money out of the fucking country illegally. So their idea is, let's clamp down on money leaving our country, which is not a bad way to do it, because what they want them to do is take that money and put it back into the economy, right? And they really can't force individuals to do this the way they want them to. So what they're doing is they're standing here saying, look, you're moving our currency out of our fucking country illegally and not reinvesting it into the country, which would allow them to have continual growth. This is how, the United States made a middle class back in the 1950s and 60s, is by limiting how far currency could really move, because we wouldn't let our companies move elsewhere and wouldn't let them stand here and hire foreign workers to do jobs for us. And if people had money, a lot of times would be clamped down upon them moving it overseas. So let's find out how they're doing this and where, which is very important. Precious stones add sparkles to Hong Kong's exports to China. This is from January 20th, 2019. Territory's third month of outperformance comes as mainland economy cools. All right. Chinese imports from Hong Kong surge, driven by precious stones. Precious stones import as a total Chinese imports from Hong Kong 85% between 2015 and 2018, and going up in 2019. All right, in the beginning of this year, nearly 50%, or more than 50% of all exports from Hong Kong into China, all right, were precious stones. The sharp drop in Chinese imports in December has only deepened concern over the health of the world's second largest economy. However, Hong Kong proved an unexpected bright spot, as its exports to mainland China more than doubled to US $1.2 billion in December. That was enough to outshine China's imports from Brazil, whose soybean industry has been a big beneficiary of the trade war between Washington and Beijing. A third consecutive month of outperformance by Hong Kong's exporters to a Chinese economy that is cooling has raised questions as to what is going on. The sector breakdown of the December trade data is not yet available, but Elsa Lignos, head of the currency strategy at RBC Capital Markets, noted that recent months has seen a sharp rise in Chinese imports of precious stones from Hong Kong. Here's the thing about Hong Kong. They don't do a lot of mining in Hong Kong. Yo. So, how do they get their money out of China? It's very simple. They buy precious stones, all right? And then they sell them back to the Hong Kong people at a vig. You know what I'm saying? They most definitely sell them back at a discount, so they're making money on it, right? And then they're able to move their capital from Hong Kong offshore and go elsewhere with it, because Hong Kong economy is not restricted the same way as like it is in Beijing. Get what I'm saying? This is what the whole fucking deal is with the Hong Kong protest. It's about the fact that China knows that it isn't liquid enough to be able to pay its bills the way it needs to be able to pay them. And they're trying to clamp down on currency flight. And the way they're doing that is trying to restrict the fucking ability of the Hong Kong people to be able to pay this money. That's why the protesters won't talk about why they're protesting. They keep asking, why are you protesting? Freedom. Freedom to what? Freedom to help capital leave China. That's what this whole thing is about. All right? Legit. And with a trade war and all the things looming on Chinese fucking problems, you know what I mean? The lowering birth rates and all the stuff going on, feminism and everything like that. These people are not Antifa. Fucking stupid. They're not Antifa. All right? These individuals are standing here trying to protect what it is that they do for a living. It's that simple. All right. So we need to understand exactly what's going on here. And literally, this is a Chinese problem. And granted, China does get a hold of Hong Kong, they're going to turn them every which way but loose. It's not our problem. And I really don't care. And I mean, it is what it is. Britain signed a terrible deal. It is what it is, and we had to live in the real world, not in the world that we wish we lived in. And I mean, we could treat it like that if we want to, but you know what? China isn't going to bow down, because you know what? It has 1.2 billion people depending on its actions to continue to do what it does. It's that simple. Anyway, man, it's Tom Peace from Pinoy News. You know the situation. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.